everyone, I'm Bianca Miller-Cole.
And I'm Byron.
So, Byron.
Today actually we're going to talk about good debt versus bad debt.
Okay.
Let me draw a bit of context to this conversation. So, I had a meeting the other day with someone who, having a conversation the other day with someone who has a business and wanted to grow it, knew that they had to spend some money on marketing, but didn't quite have enough, didn't have the finances to put back into the business to spend on sales and marketing and infrastructure and all the things that they needed to do in order to take their business forward. So I asked a couple of questions, and it turned out they had an asset, and the asset was a vehicle. And I was like, great, do you own the vehicle? Do you lease the vehicle? Do you finance the vehicle? And he said he owns the vehicle outright. And I said, okay, great. So, and there was various circumstances which prevented him from getting various other funding solutions that I provided. So he then said, I said, well, why don't you look at refinancing that car, release some equity out of that vehicle via asset finance? It's very, very easy to do. And release that money so you can put that money into your business.
Yeah.
And kind of the response was, well, no, I don't want to do that. I was like, okay, why? He said, well, I don't want all the stress of debt.
Okay.
So I'm sure this is probably not an uncommon thing, right? So I just wanted to talk about good debt and bad debt for a minute. And I feel like there's some debt that you get into which is good debt, or not necessarily good debt, but debt
necessary
that
debt
has a purpose,
and
can be used as a vehicle to make you more money, or used to leverage your position, to allow you to grow and expand or achieve the goals in which you are seeking.
Yes.
So that's the conversation I want to have. So how do you feel about, because I know you're quite relatively risk adverse in comparison to perhaps myself, who's a bit more risque.
Yes.
I think maybe you're changing a little bit now, but how do you feel about debt overall?
How do I feel about debt overall? I think
good debt and bad debt.
I think that debt is in some part is necessary in allowing you to get to achieve your goals. So I think when you think about debt, I guess you're talking about, actually, you know what, let me break that back, go back a second. So when we're talking about debt, I guess we're speaking about different things. There might be loans, credit cards, direct debits. You mean the whole spectrum of borrowing money and contracts?
So what I mean is this, okay, let's say you have a business, give me a product.
What?
Give me a product. Let's say you're selling shoes.
Shoes, fine.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And you have a credit card. You have £1,000 limit on your credit card.
Yes.
And you have a job. And you're earning £1,000, whatever. So, yes, the interest rate on your credit card perhaps is not going to be the best.
Yes.
But in order for you to take your business forward, you need to get you need to spend some money on your stock.
Speculate to accumulate, yes.
So you haven't got the full £1,000 because you're only earning £1,000. However, you've got
a card
access
there.
to money, potentially, that can help your business, start your business, grow your business, scale your business, as we talk about. And yes, the debt is not a good form of funding your business, but you have no other options. So
to enable you to move forward. Yeah, sure. So I guess so my feeling is that I think it's about being clever with it. So I think that there are lots of people who are afraid of debt because they're concerned that they're not going to be able to repay it, or they haven't looked at the bigger picture and how they can utilize it. So I think I've had business loans when necessary. I've had overdrafts, and some of them have been short-term things that have been necessary. So for example, when we were fulfilling one of our biggest orders, I think it might have been like QVC or someone, I had to get a really large order of stock to enable me to facilitate the QVC order and to enable me to pay my factory and whatever negotiation there, and to produce the product and wait for QVC to pay back in their 60, 90-day terms or whatever. So I had enough money to do it, but I wanted to have that overdraft there to provide me with the buffer. So yeah, so some people wouldn't want to even do an overdraft because they'd be scared that that's debt, or they wouldn't want to go into their overdraft. But actually, in order to make certain moves in business, you have to be able to utilize debt sometimes as leverage, right, to enable you to make certain moves. So I'm not anti-debt. I'm also not anti-using credit cards when necessary for your business or your personal life. And I find that some people are really nervous about it. Like, I've got friends who I've encouraged to get credit cards to increase their credit rating, and who are afraid of getting credit cards because maybe they've seen a family member have trouble with a credit card or misuse a credit card or whatever, and they don't understand that actually the use of credit is linked to their credit file and their ability to be able to get more credit in the future.
Yeah.
They don't see that link. So I think it's definitely a case of a re-education.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm big on good credit, but also clever use of debt, because I think some people think, when they hear debt, it's always negative. You're in debt. Like, I think there is maybe a narrative that comes down from parents and grandparents sometimes that debt is a negative thing. When you hear someone say they're in debt, it's like, oh no, you're in debt. But a mortgage is debt.
Absolutely.
And most people wouldn't frown on getting a mortgage.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to frown on getting a mortgage, why are you frowning on other types of debt? There are sometimes, the whole point of financial facility is a facility to enable you to make moves and make purchases.
Yeah.
So I think for someone to just sit back and say, I'm not going to improve my business because I don't have the money, but actually I've got an asset here that I can refinance to enable me to have the money to move my business forward, is really short-sighted.
Do you know, it's funny you talk about when you get a mortgage, right? Because I remember the first time I got my first mortgage, I was like 21, and I was borrowing like 140 grand, something small like that, right, on this 2-bedroom flat.
Right.
And when it said at the bottom, the interest and capital, I nearly fell off my chair. Oh my God, it was like 4 times the amount.
Yeah.
And that's like that mindset shift of like, I have a plan, I have a purpose here.
Yeah.
And
can you do it otherwise? That's the thing.
I couldn't have done it otherwise.
Right. So that's why I
didn't have 140 grand at 21, kicking around to get me this property.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to. The facility was a mortgage, and I knew that if I kept it for that period, 25 years, that's what I would have had to have paid.
Yeah.
So I just found it a really interesting conversation. I like how the example you've given there, but that's that mindset shift that not all debt is bad debt, and sometimes you've got to use the facilities available to you and the resources available to you to make the business work.
But it's also sometimes people just sitting there waiting for something to happen, but they don't want to invest. They don't want to take. It's a risk. There is an element of risk associated, but sometimes you have to take a risk and speculate to accumulate. You have to kind of get out there, and if you don't financially have the money to do something, then you have to look at ways of getting it. And if you can't get it from family, friends, investors, funding, whatever, then you have to kind of look at other ways to do it, right? And I think that's what some people are just afraid to use the facilities to get ahead.
Yeah, and I would like to. It's just sometimes it's like, why? And the reasons he had given me as to why were that that's just they were all mindset.
Yeah. How am I going to pay it back?
Issues. I don't want the stress of debt. I've come from an environment. I've seen debt and blah blah blah. I'm like, but this is a completely different scenario and environment, right?
But that's about the management of debt, isn't it?
He's not going to pull the money out of his of that car or his van to go on holiday.
Yeah.
That's spending it. That's
poor.
That's poor money management and bad use of your credit card or your resources.
Sure.
But he's using it for the potential gain of his business and like you were talking about, you used it to help your business grow and to give you that buffer and that peace of mind and that leverage so that you can get into the retailer and fulfill the order.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was just a really interesting conversation, and it's just like I was confused. So I just wanted to just,
I feel like though, just to add, I feel like that's not necessarily people's fault. I think that we're really missing a trick in schools. I think there's an element of your nature and nurture and the family you grow up with and how they feel about debt and finance and so on. But it's also about schools not really providing you with that information. I think we're still so behind in terms of the narrative provided on maths. Maths education doesn't actually tell you about some real life financial situations.
Money management, what they didn't teach you at school, where it's coming.
Loans. Management, loans, credit cards, APR. People don't understand those things, and that's, I think, what happens also is people get into trouble when they're young. So when they're 18 and they're allowed to get a store card or whatever, they go and do silly things, and then they have to pay it back, and then they have a negative perception of debt, and they've not overcome that and realise that actually, when used in the right way, it can be really positive. So I think that's another issue. It's a bigger issue, but it's an issue nevertheless.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps that up. Anything else you want to add to it?
No.
Awesome. Well, I'm Byron.
I'm Bianca.
And Self-Made
Is success.